Welcome to The Nation. I'm Jessie CHAHAL. Joining me today is SYUHAIDA Abdul Wahab Sen, Director of the Public Sector Reform Division at the Public Service Department, or otherwise known to most of us as JPA. Thank you for joining us, Puan, of course, to discuss an important topic and an important area, and that is the Commitment Act 2025. It's also known as the Iltizam Act, and that's an initiative designed to drive a more responsive, accountable and future-ready public service. Let's get right into it. Perhaps you could help us understand from the get-go what exactly is the Government Service Efficiency Commitment Act 2025.
All right. Thank you, Jessie. Thank you, Bernama, for inviting JPA to this session. So it's actually an opportunity, not to be missed opportunity actually, Jessie, for us to tell the public what we have in front of us. So we have currently the newly tabled and approved Act, and has also came into force just recently, 1st December 2025. So this Act is actually an Act to enhance the service quality, the efficiency, the effectiveness of the government service. How do we do that? By addressing bureaucracy. So we do have bureaucracy in the government, but the too much regulatory burden is too much for the public and for the business community. So that's why we, based on the discussion at the Majlis Tindakan Ekonomi or the National Economic Action Council in 2024, we see that we need to have a regulatory framework, backed up by law, what the government need to do, what commitment that the government must give to the rakyat and the business service, the business sectors. So that is why this Act came into picture. This Act is previously mooted by the Ministry of Economy, and then since we have the SSPA, the Public Service Remuneration System, where we increase the salary of the government servants, so it has to be tallied with the efficiency in the delivery of the service.
And so it's a blueprint and a format that will also measure success and achievement, if you will. Yeah. But ultimately, it is to improve administrative efficiency and service delivery, and that is known as the Iltizam Act. Yeah. Now, before we get into the nitty-gritty a little further, in terms of the Rancakan Madani Program and the Convention 2025, the National Public Service Reform Convention 2025, that gather ministries, agencies and other major initiatives all under one roof. From your perspective, Puan, what is the main objective of hosting both these programs simultaneously? Seems like a lot happening all at once.
Yeah, exactly, Jessie. So this is not a new initiative, as you know, and as the public know, we have the celebration in 2023, the first year of Madani government, and then we have the next celebration in 2024, the second year of the Madani government, or 2TM. So this is a continuation. So we don't call it the 3TM, but we call it Rancakan Malaysia Madani, Rancakan Madani with Malaysiaku. And also we have in this program a National Convention on Public Sector Reform. So this is the new thing. The in thing now, we are talking about reformation. So we bring this convention to all the public and the government servant to join. Now the objective is actually to showcase and also highlight the achievements and outcomes of the Madani government, particularly in 2025. So we have done that in 2024 and 2023. So this year it's specifically for 2025. And we want to also promote and mainstream the public service reform agenda to the public. So we call it also in Bahasa Agenda Reformasi Perkhidmatan Awam, ARPA, which was introduced by the Chief Secretary of the Government in 2024. So we want to showcase and we want to make the public understand the third objective and aware of the government's direction and also efforts. And the last objective is also to build trust. So we need to build trust between the government, so that people will have confidence with the government through transparent periodic reporting period.
Right. This program overall will also provide a platform for direct interaction between public and government leaders, and that includes even the Prime Minister, Cabinet Ministers, senior leaders, all to sit down and hear the public viewpoint and understand community needs better. But Puan, I interrupt you at this point of time to really ask you honestly, if these programs do prove themselves successful, will the Rakyat really get that viewpoint across? Will their needs really be met? Or is this just another one of those programs?
Okay, yeah, thank you, Jessie. It's a tough question, but I believe it's the question that lingers around the mind of the Rakyat. Is this just a program? Is it sincere enough? So yeah, I believe based on the the overwhelming response that we had during 2023 and 2024, we have received 230,000 visitors, and then in 2024 240,000 visitors, and this year we are expecting 300,000 visitors. And moreover, this year we'll have a gallery walk whereby the Rakyat, the public, can also look into the efforts that has been done by the government agencies, and at that point of time they can also share their intention, share their expectation, write notes if they cannot get the information clearly. So all this matters to us. All this will be taken into consideration, and the government will also look into what they can do, and Iltizam ensures that it can be done.
You say that this is important for the success of the program as well, but how much priority is being placed towards the element of the participation of the Rakyat towards shaping the public service reforms?
Yeah, and if I may, Jessie, we do have, before this, we say government knows best. Yeah, only the government knows best what is the best for the Rakyat. But now it's not really into that. The government wants to work with the Rakyat, and how do we work? We work by co-creation. So we co-create it together with the Rakyat. At this point, maybe I can share what we have done through the Academy Dalam Industri, or industry where we have academy in that industry. It is actually based on the requirement or request from industry. So they are able to train the worker, and this worker will be able to enjoy the opportunity to get certificate. So it's 2-in-1, Jessie. So it's co-creation. It's not only what the government, supply the manpower by having this TVET program or whatnot. It is based on the discussion with the industry, what they want, what they need, and how can they also contribute to the success of this program. So
when we talk about everyday, that interaction on a daily basis, what does this act do? What problems is it trying to solve at the ground level for everyday people in terms of improving governance and service? What sort of tangible outcomes are we looking at, or are we anticipating?
All right. Okay, Jessie. It's actually the thing that we have introduced in the Act is something that is being done by the government officers or by the government agencies. It's nothing new, but at this time around, it's mandated by law. So what we want to know, what we want the government agencies to show is that they are taking serious efforts to review their regulation, to reduce the burden to the Rakyat and also to the business community. So it's mandatory. Every 3 years, they have to do this revision of the secondary legislation and also the instrument, the regulatory instruments that are under their purview. Say, for example, a JPJ, Ministry of Transport, and also JPJ. They have to look into the needs of the Rakyat and to see how they can regulate in terms of their procedures. How can they reduce the burden? So this is the first one. The second one, in order to reduce the burden, we also have in this Act, the reduction is 25% and above. Meaning to say, it's no joke, Jessie. It's not just only 10% reduction. You have to ensure that 25% reduction in terms of the waiting time, in terms of the administrative costs. So we have in our guideline, we have a model of standard cost model that the agencies can follow in terms of the reduction of burden. And the third one is the policy of 1 in, 1 out. Whenever we want to introduce a new regulation, We have to ensure that the previous regulation or the regulations before that, which is no longer effective for the people, is being revoked first. Then only we introduce the new regulation.
Right, but walk us through this to get a little bit technical.
Okay.
Based on the current processes, which rules or requirements tend to be the one with more burden? How will you be reducing, so to say, the red tape, if you will? How will you be picking and assessing which needs improvement, which needs reduction, and which can be removed altogether?
All right. So, Jessie, when I informed in the very beginning that we have a platform where the government have this discussion with the private sector, with the Pemuda, and also with other government ministries and agencies. So they have the list of issues, the pain points from the rakyat and from the business communities. So how do we solve, how do we rectify this issue based on the pain points? So the government is, in this act, compels to do that by having their regulation being reviewed and also by reducing that burden. So this information can also be, gained from the Pemuda meeting and also from My Muda, from the platform where rakyat can express their requirement, their needs and their wants from the government. So from aduan, so we have SISPA, Sistem Pengurusan Aduan at the government service. So this is the platform where we get all the things that need reformation from all the
feedback as well. Now, this has been cited to be a game changer for the service reform. It does require ministries to review their guidelines, policies and acts every 3 years. So that keeps everyone on their toes, I suppose. This, of course, also will ensure that there's no overlapping in terms of existing rules that contribute to, excessive red tape again. But if I flip that and ask you, how ready is the public service workforce, i.e. the civil servants, which are, within this segment, how ready are they to embrace this shift towards being more efficient, more transparent, and more people-centered? Because as it is, we understand that there's already a lot going on. There's a lot of tasks and a daily routine that they have to comply with.
Thank you, Jessie, for that question. This is not just, the progress is not just within the blink of an eye. It has been there since 2025. The beginning of this year, the government has instructed all the ministries to look into their programs or their procedures by having the implementation of Regulatory Burden Reduction Program, or RKB, Reformasi Kerenah Birokrasi, where we reform our process, look into the process, how can they help the public to get faster services, how they can, these procedures be in line with the need of the business community. How do these programs facilitate ease of doing business? So it has been mandatory for all the government agencies. So up until now, there are 1,007 projects being registered, and now it's still undergoing, in terms of the completion. So we have 300 over projects that have been completed and received certificate from the Chief Secretary of the government. It shows that it is not only promise, but it is something real, that the ministry, the relevant agencies are looking into it and try to solve the issues and try to, satisfy the needs of the rakyat as well as the business community.
You mentioned satisfying the needs, but also the fact that this will ensure that processes are faster, more transparent and responsive. You talked a little bit about the pain points for the rakyat and for the business segment as well. Could you give us some examples of what that may look like, those pain points and the solution?
All right. Thank you, Jessie, for that question. I believe that most of us who deal with the issues at the airport, when we want to travel abroad, so it's quite challenging. Even as Malaysian, we have to queue at the E-gate, At the moment, we have, through the Ministry of Home Affairs and Immigration Department, they have introduced My Border Pass.
Oh yes, they have. I've used it. Yes, I've downloaded the app.
Exactly. It's really simple. Within seconds, you can pass through that gate, isn't it?
Yes.
So it's a transformation. It's a reformation that is real.
True.
That is enjoyed very much to the rakyat and the business community. And not only that, we also have introduced or allow 10 countries to use e-gates. So it's not only for Malaysian, it's also for other countries, other people who are, whatever purpose they come here, especially for business purposes, they can enjoy the privilege at our exit and entry airports.
I think that's a great example of how this program and the initiatives are working to ensure that not just the daily lives are less of a burden, but also for the business segment. You did emphasize earlier that Iltizam shifts the public service away from the government knows best approach towards what is more sustainable in the long run, and that is the approach of co-creation. How will this feedback, industry input and community insight, how will it really and realistically be incorporated into the process? So there's a transition, but also the translation that is effective.
Jessie, it is really not really a smooth journey to do this. It requires a lot of cooperation, a lot of conversations and understanding from both parties. So I believe to take on from the RD program just now, it is not just only rhetoric. It is a progress which is monitored by our agency, by the Malaysia Productivity Corporation. So we have this MPC to assist the business community, to also assist the government in terms of that, and we evaluate, and they even receive their certificate. A convocation, like a convocation ceremony just recently by MPC to the graduates who are also the workers in the company. So this is where the beauty of having this collaboration, the synergy between the public sector and the private sector.
Are there any short-term timelines or particular goals that have been pegged towards a certain timeline in that aspect?
In this case, there is definitely between the relevant ministry and the industry. So they can shape the future of that program based on the discussion between these two industries. So we have the Ministry of Human Resources involved, the MPC, and also the company. And also for other projects, JC, this is not the only project that we can do. We may be able to explore more projects with the industry based on their requirement and needs, and to see how government can really maneuver and deal with this by having the instrument to be reviewed and also the burden to be reduced into 25%.
Fantastic. I ultimately want to highlight as well that this is meant to create a lasting impact for the well-being of the people, of people like you and I, as well as yourself, but also for national development. Some of the recent improvements, such as the instant business license renewals through the Lima system, that has helped to reduce what used to be a one-day wait to something that has gone almost to immediate approval. How does Iltizam support or want to accelerate similar innovations across agencies and across states nationwide?
Thank you, JC. Because when I mentioned that the Act is just, the entry into force of the Act is just recently, 1st December. So the efforts undertaken by MPAG or Majlis Perbandaran Alor Gajah in issuing renewal license immediately after the submission through online or the Lima system. So actually, Iltizam provides the enabling environment for such innovations to flourish by mandating simplifications, removing outdated regulatory barriers, and setting performance standards that reward faster, more efficient service. So at this point of time, the Act also, I mentioned about 3 things just now: the review of the regulation, and then the reduction of the burden, 25% and more, and then the introduction or the implementation of one-in, one-out policy. Whenever you want to introduce new policy, you have to ensure that the previous or the policy before that is being revoked or regulation being revoked. No overlapping. It's like that. And the other important part is actually for the government entities, including the PBT, to also submit their service performance report. Yeah, they have to submit this report, and upon submission, the report will be evaluated and is subject to be rated. It is, we have introduced rating system to rate this agency and to give them incentive based on the achievement. And so this motivates the behavior of our government officers.
But in return, it also then extends a promise to foster a more business-friendly environment within the country and for the nation, which ultimately then goes back to dollars and cents, goes back to the economy. And so it's all an ecosystem and a part of the process. One of the other elements is that it also provisions for ongoing consultations between government and industry stakeholders to talk to the private sector as well. How have you seen this flourish, or how have you seen this improve in the recent months building up to this?
Yeah, all right. Thank you, Jessie. Maybe perhaps it's better for me to speak on behalf of JPA. So before this, our stakeholders are not really the private sector, the business communities. We work with the government officers, looking to their welfare, their service matters. But with the SSPA, we have to go beyond that. So now we are also part of this platform where we are the permanent member of Pemuda meeting. So this is where we look into areas in which we can collaborate with the private sector. And we also involve in the Pemuda private meeting to see how we can do better, to see, as intermediaries between the government agencies and also the business players. So this is what we are doing, and we hope that it will be, a scheduled conversations between the ministries and also Pemuda to see how we can more in terms of effectiveness of the government. Jessie, I just want to tell you about the recent report, the World Competitiveness Report, where we are being, from the 34th rank, we are upgraded to the 23rd rank. And it is contributed by the government efficiency indicator. So you see how this is the motivation that we want the government service to follow and to embark into this, embrace this. And this is the result that we will be known as a country that is prosperous and can allow business to run in Malaysia smoothly, speedily. And actually we target that by 2030 we'll be among the 12 best economies in the world.
Well, all systems seem to be in place towards reaching that goal. What would your message be to the viewer about the public services commitment to simplifying processes and improving overall service delivery?
Okay, I must say that to all Malaysians, this is not only one-sided from the government. It is a co-creation between the government and industry and rakyat. It is also to improve the overall experience of the people. So reform is not about redesigning system on paper. It is about real improvements felt on the ground. We want rakyat to feel it. We want them to have feel-good factor on the services provided by the government.
It's been good to have you here, Puan, to really give a sense of identity and a sense of a life to the Act. Prior to looking at some of when I was doing a bit of the research, it was more a little bit about like okay, there was a bit of a disconnect. But you coming in here and really giving life to this has put it in perspective. So I want to thank you for your time today. As the implementation guidelines for Iltizam Act, that will be a major catalyst in governance and public service reform. The Act is in line with the aspirations of the Public Service Reform Agenda, which is the government's main driver in strengthening service delivery and public sector governance, all towards a faster, more transparent and responsive system for the people. I'm Jessie CHAHAL. This has been The Nation. Thank you for being with us and thank you for watching. Do follow us for more in-depth conversations on issues that matter right here on Bernama TV. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.